It's January 6th, 2023. It's about 10 a.m. and I'm Cole Preston coming at you with what I believe is some pretty exclusive information. This morning, as far as I can tell, some cannabis bills have been pre-filed. It looks like they were pre-filed as early as 2 days ago. It looks like I'm looking at a bill from Mary E. Flowers. I believe this is a bill that's been introduced in the past and didn't go anywhere. It amends the Criminal Identification Act and provides that the Illinois State Police and all law enforcement agencies within the state shall automatically expunge all criminal history records of an arrest, charge not initiated by arrest, order of supervision, or order of qualified probation for any person who on or after January 1st, 1970 has been convicted of or is serving an order of supervision for possession of cannabis, whether or not the person is served or is serving his or her sentence for that violation on the effective date of the amendatory act. So that was a lot of words, but what I believe this act does is it amends the Cannabis Control Act, which if you're not familiar with that, check out episode number 232. The Cannabis Control Act was introduced, I believe, in 1978 in Illinois. So this bill by Mary Flowers would repeal the provisions prohibiting the possession of cannabis. In other words, if you didn't know, the 1978 Cannabis Control Act of Illinois basically established a graduated scale of penalties depending on the amount of cannabis that you possessed. As far as I can tell, this bill that's been pre-filed by Mary Flowers, Representative Mary Flowers, seeks to dissolve all of those penalties. I could be wrong in my understanding of the bill, and so I will encourage you to look it up yourself. This is public information at this point. It's House Bill 1101, and once again, it was pre-filed with the clerk by Representative Mary Flowers. I'll put a direct link in the podcast description so you can see what I'm seeing. I'm a little confused here because there's another House bill that was filed by Representative Mary Flowers that has to do with cannabis as well. It's House Bill 1090. Once again, I will put a link in the podcast description for information on this legislation. I'm having trouble at first glance telling exactly what this does, but it seems the one thing that stands out to me is that it seems that this act provides that, notwithstanding some provisions, no person shall be eligible for expungement if the violation occurred during the commission by the person of first-degree murder, kidnapping, aggravated kidnapping, criminal sexual assault, aggravated criminal sexual assault, predatory criminal sexual assault of a child, aggravated criminal sexual abuse, or felony criminal sexual abuse. So it looks like this act still repeals the provision prohibiting the possession of cannabis, and it modifies the provision prohibiting the delivery or manufacture of cannabis so that it only applies to the manufacture or production of cannabis, which, again, here I'm kind of like legalese is really hard to understand. This is really new information, and so the purpose of sharing this morning is not to necessarily give you my take, but to share that this is off the wire coming out, and I'd love for all of you to look into this and tell me what you think these bills mean. The last bill that I've seen so far that was pre-filed, and it looks like it may have been pre-filed this morning, January 6th, is a bill that is sponsored by a lot of people, including Representative Morgan, Representative Cassidy, and several others. I mentioned those two names because if you've listened to our podcast, you might be familiar with those two names. You'll especially be familiar with those names if you listen to episode 232. Anyways, this bill that I'm referring to now is Senate Bill 3799, and it amends the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act. This is the summary that I'm reading. it says it provides that entities awarded a cannabis transporting license may defer paying the associated licensing fee for a period of no more than 2 years. It provides that from January 1st, 2023 through January 1st, 2028, the Department of Agriculture shall not issue any new transporting licenses. So that was the summary on Bill SB 3799. I will put a link to each of these bills in the podcast description. I encourage you all to keep an eye on what's coming out during this next legislative session. It's very possible that I've already missed something. There's a flurry of bills coming in. I'm just trying to look for the ones that are cannabis related so that I can give you, the community, that exclusive heads up. Or at least I think it's exclusive. I've not heard anybody talking about these new bills yet, so I hope that you're ahead of the curve with this one. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode, my friends.